All right, sweet. We are rolling. All right. So this has been a long time coming, David.
Yeah.
I'm here with David Huynh. Met him over at La Trobe University. Been wanting to do this for a long time, man. So I appreciate you coming in.
No, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate the time and the offer, man. Yeah, it's been a while, like you said. So
It's been ages. So David's a special guest. He is for real, man. No, for real, bro. Dude, you're a former physiotherapist.
Yeah.
You are a rehab coach over for the Oakleigh Chargers. You're a tutor at La Trobe University. So you're onto big things, and I'll just let you talk to the audience about basically who you are, man, and so we can just chop it up from there, because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, for sure. I'll try to keep this as succinct as possible. But yeah, like Dean said, currently the rehab coach for the Oakleigh Chargers in the Talent League for Australian rules football, and also a tutor at La Trobe, and that's where we met. And then also I worked as a physiotherapist for about a year and a half in a neuro sort of space as well. So do have that background, but yeah, I guess we can always expand or sort of talk more about that as we progress. But that's the summary of what I do.
Man. Yeah, and it's funny because I want to tell people like the day we met. I think I was very late to my class, right? Typical Dean. And so David was tutoring one of the subjects there, and as soon as I walked into class, David just radiated with this positive energy. He took his job pretty seriously. He was vocal, and I just gravitated towards that, man. And at the end of the class, I remember us going up to you being like, "Hey man, look, where you from? like, how'd you get into this?" Because at that time, bro, I wanted to get into my Master of Physiotherapy, and
which you made it. So congrats.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And that was a really tough time. So I saw you really as a mentor and like someone that could actually help me get there.
Yeah.
Because for those who don't know, it's super tough to get into, because you need a WAM of, what is it, like an 80 at least?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, an 80 at least, and that's not very easy to do.
Yeah.
So definitely helped me along the way, man. So, and just from there, we just kept in contact.
Yeah.
We chopped it up. It's been a while. It's been like a year and a half.
Yeah, for sure. It's felt a lot longer, for sure. And also, like, to be honest, I remember that day too, where I think I was covering because I wasn't your main tutor for that class in that subject. So I was covering the class, and I remember that was an extremely awesome class. Like, obviously yourself was in there and a few of the other boys too. But I remember you walking up to me and asking questions and stuff like that. And at first I was very sort of intrigued, because it's very rare that we get students that come up after class and are, so open and always asking interesting questions. And I mean that in a very warm way. And so, yeah, after that, I knew, you wanted to take things to the next level. And so having been in your footsteps before, going through that journey and getting into physio school and then graduating and then getting a job as physio, I could try and offer insight where I could. Everyone has their own journey and everyone has a way to, get there. But I guess the least I could do in that situation was say, hey, this is how I did it. It sort of worked for me, and maybe you can incorporate a few of those elements and add your own spin to it. So that was more the notion, and how things sort of came about. Yeah.
And the thing, for those who don't know David, is that David is a type of guy who's willing to help. When he can. He's he's very selfless. He gives back, and so I feel like that you spend a lot of time just trying to help. Even right now, you're probably trying to help students get into their course.
For sure.
So that's really special, man, of you.
Oh, thank you, man.
So
yeah.
yeah. So tell us about your journey. So you sound like you've been through quite a lot, like through the physio path, through the sports world. Tell us about your journey, man.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, it was a long journey, and thinking back, it felt like yesterday when I started, you know, my first class in uni, you know, but basically, so I started off doing I took a bachelor in sport and exercise science, where I learned the foundations to a lot of the core principles of training and exercise and nutrition and, you know, research and all those basic skills that you learn in a degree like that. So finished that with a pretty decent score, and then wasn't really sure where I wanted to end up, to be honest, man. I sort of knew that I wanted to be in athletics in some capacity, and I wanted to do physio. I wanted to do research. So I remember sitting down with a few professors and teachers and tutors along the way, and just picking their brain and, you know, seeing what my options were. And so obviously physio was one of them. And then we spoke about strength and conditioning with one of my other teachers, and then also research and a potential honors pathway. So all pathways were sort of intriguing for me, and I had passion in all three, but ultimately I had to pick one that would make the most sense for me. And, you know, also got to consider the financial perspective and the ability to get a job straight away. So
yeah.
Physio ended up being the course that I ended up going with, and my goodness, like I was in awe of the sort of, I knew that the jump was going to be big, but I didn't realize how big it was. And so when I first got into we called it the JEP program. I'm sure it's changed.
I was in the JEP. I was the last year in the JEP program.
So it's you know, it's changed a bit now, but for those that don't know, it's basically a intensive crash course where they teach you everything about private like musculoskeletal physiotherapy skills, basically. So assessment of all parts of the body, shoulder, ankle, knees, hip, everything, what have you. And this is like what the undergrads would learn in like the space of, I think, 1.5 to 2 years, and we learned it in like 6 weeks. So the jump was massive, and you know, you would think that would be it, but it just stays the same for the rest of the course. And so that was a big challenge, trying to get through that, and then the theory side of things, which was a lot, and then placement. So by the end of that course, you know, I learned a lot about myself and how to study a bit more effectively in terms of theory-based subjects. But the hardest thing was the placements. You learn a lot, but you also, it's the most stressful period, you know, where you're basically put into a new situation, and you got to learn everything, you know, in a matter of days, right? Yeah. So that was challenging. And then the responsibility of real patients, you know, being under your wing, you got to have a bit more, I guess, responsibility, for lack of a better word, to take them from where they are back to home, or improve their function, or whatever the case may be. It depends on where you are. But that was extremely difficult. And then so finished that course.
And just on that, David, like the placement side of things, because I'm in the same boat right now with my placements, and like for those who don't know, it is no joke, man. it's no joke. But basically, what happens is you've got 7 placements, and they're very intense. So they're in 5-week blocks. Yeah. And you essentially have, basically, you're there at the hospital or wherever you are for 4 days a week. So you essentially have 28, 5 times 4, 20 days. 20 days to actually become proficient in the field that you're working in, whether it's like musculoskeletal physiotherapy, cardiophysiotherapy, neurophysiotherapy. You're expected to be job ready, and there's that, and then there's the supervisor, you know, who's breathing, who's looking down your, breathing against your shoulder.
Yeah.
There's the getting marked according to a checklist.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Criteria.
Yeah. And then just dealing with patients and just learning new skills for the first time. It's a lot, man. It's
sure.
tough. How do you deal with like the stress of placement?
Yeah. Oh God. And you sort of summarized it there. Is that it's hard. And so for me, like I'll be honest, I wasn't the best right off the bat with that. Like it took me, I would say like 3.5 placements to really understand what it took. And so I remember the first placement, like it took me like 2 weeks or longer to just get acclimated to the environment and learn about, you know, things that are expected of me and things that I need to carry out within that placement. Now I'm obviously a little bit slower compared to other people. I'll be honest about that.
Bro, I'm the same, man. I'm not smart at all, bro.
Yeah, but it took me a while. But once I figured it out, like it started to come a bit more natural in that sense. But yeah, you're right. It's a lot. Like you're juggling so many different things in that small period of time, and you know, you're getting up early, you're traveling, and sometimes your placements are on the other side of town. You know, I had a placement near Templestowe, and you know, we're from the west side of town, so you got to get up early, and that was a private practice too. So they started at like 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. So you got to get up like super early to like get ready and be there. And when you're there, it's just like all hands on deck and pedal to the metal from start to finish. So you learn a lot, and I know it sounds like it's very doable, but when you're in that situation, you know, for obviously 5 weeks and then times that by 6 placements, it does add up a lot on you. So
and you go home as well after your placement to do more studying.
Exactly.
To prepare for the next day.
That's the thing, yeah. So obviously if you're in a rehab situation, you're seeing clients for a longer period of time. So what you're doing is you're going home thinking of different ways to, you know, I guess implement new exercises or new treatment plans or things like that, just to make them, I guess, stimulated and feeling like they're progressing. And I guess equally, if you're in a acute situation, if you're not sure about a pathology, you're going home looking that up and different ways to treat it. I guess it speaks for every area of physio. Like if you're not sure about something, you're going home looking it up. And if you're seeing patients for a bit longer period of time, you're going home and you're adding on to what you've been doing with them and trying to make it a bit fresher every time you see them, basically. And that all adds up, takes time, and obviously the research as well. You got to be up to date with what you're doing and add you know, evidence-based practice and things like that. So yeah, it ends up being like almost like a full-time job in a way where
it is,
you know, you don't get that much time on the weekends to work and stuff like that. So I guess for those that want to commit to that journey, that's sort of, you know, like that's what it's going to entail, but it doesn't mean that it's, you know, unachievable. It's just that you got to be more proficient at blocking out time for study and making sure that you're still socializing and doing things that you love as well to stay a bit sane. So yeah.
And it very much also your experience on placement depends on your supervisor. You know, like as physio students, you are under the power of, you know, a mentor, which is someone who looks after you. Maybe 1 or 2 people, maybe 3, and they take you along the ropes for the 5-week block that you're with them. And you know, my past supervisors have been really great. You know, a shout out to like Chloe, John, Sarah, Mark. They've all been really thankful. But you do have some supervisors that I've experienced as well that aren't so helpful and like that, you know, aren't really on your side and just makes life a bit hard. So you're trying to like juggle personalities as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. And I guess for you guys, it might be even more amplified because typically since we've sort of, because I did placement before the pandemic, so things were a little bit different in terms of supervisors and the level of expertise and experience. You know, it seems to be these days supervisors are a lot younger and have been out for a little less years, so probably what, 4 or 5 years compared to your 5, 10 plus, right? So, and that's just the nature of the way things have unfolded since the pandemic. No one's to blame here, but yeah, you're juggling all of that as well, and you know, you sort of have to play the cards right a little bit, if that makes sense.
100%.
You know, and you're sort of trying to get along where you can, but yeah, definitely for those that have been in that situation before, it can really affect the placement quite significantly. So, and I can speak for that too.
100%.
You know, so yeah, but I've had a lot of amazing supervisors over the years. You know, even if I mentioned, I'm sure I'll miss a few, but like Nathan was one of them that I spent a lot of time with. Megan, Candace over at Western back in the day. So, you know, I'm sure I've missed a few, but yeah, having a good supervisor does make a big difference.
Huge, man.
Yeah.
So you finish off physiotherapy, and then you move on to...
Yeah, so I moved on to work in the neuro space. So I worked with spinal cord injuries and basically your common neurological presentations, so like stroke, Parkinson's, MS, that kind of thing. But it was more like a rehab setting, like a longer term. So yeah, I mean, the main sort of pathologies that I was working with were spinal cord injuries, and you know, just I know like the progress that you make with them are very small each session, but when you add it up over the course of like 2 or 3 months, it can get quite significant, and you can really see the difference. I was seeing like one of the patients, and you know, very young person, was younger than me at the time, was like 21, 22 years old. I think they did a flip on a bike and broke their neck. This is like in the country, and yeah, like since there, I forgot the level of the fracture, but basically had no feeling from midway in the torso downward. So at first, you know, you're training them to just sit and balance on the edge of the bed, because for those that haven't seen spinal cord injuries, like it can be hard to just do that, right? And so we did that, progressed with that person in that area, and then eventually we were able to walk with crutches. So the biggest thing for me with that job was that I just, you know, not that I didn't, but I started to appreciate even more the fact that we're able to utilize our body, you know, just things like sitting up every day. Like, we don't think about that twice, right? But for someone that can't do it, it's quite significant. So, you know, the main thing that I sort of tell people now is if there's any sort of fitness goal or any goal that you have, I guess mainly pertains to fitness, is go and do it, you know? Like, if you want to run a half marathon, go do it. If you want to do an Ironman, go do it. If you want to climb, you know, Mount Everest or something like that, go do it, because you only get this one chance to do it. And if you're still young, make the most of your body, because I'm telling you right now, there's people out there that would die to trade position and relive that life again, you know? So, and yeah, but so we saw, like spinal cord injuries, and a lot of them aren't even, some were from freak accidents. So we had one person that had an ACL complication from surgery, and the blood clot, I think, went into their spinal cord, and then they got paralyzed that way. So it's not purely just the traumatic cases. It can occur quite spontaneously like that too. So, but that's even more of a reason why I sort of try and tell people, just make the most of your body where you can and things like that. So, so I did that, and then I think halfway through that year, I was sort of thinking back and reflecting on my journey thus far, and you know, up until that point, I was doing a lot of clinical work, even in my placements with sports science, and also in physio. Like, it was very clinical based. So I started to look for ways to get more involved in the sports scene. So,
because like sports is like one of your biggest passions, man.
It is. And if anyone knows me or has had a conversation with me, like, I can talk sports like all day, you know.
Yeah.
So with
just on that, like, what inspired you? Like, what inspires you? You know, to get into sports. I think that's like a key part of you, to be honest, man. Because you love not only like Australian sports, but particularly American sports.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like the NFL, NBL, the NBA, college sports as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me to answer that question is you're taking, you know, the people that are performing at the highest level, and you're trying to increase their performance even more so they can achieve the goals that they desire, right? And that could be winning championships, that could be individual accolades, that could be, you know, if we're talking individual sports here, like that's sort of the driver. But also, you know, just spending time and working with young athletes, you know, I had a lot of joy doing that, and so I guess I can expand more on that once I cover the Chargers stuff, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to that. But yeah, I'd say it's taking someone performing from a high level and making them even better. And to be honest, like with sports also, injuries happen, and so you're taking them from that low point of being injured, and no matter the severity, injuries suck, and it's going to affect someone's mentality and just their outlook in terms of their performance, and also confidence. So you're trying to take them from that point all the way back to performing at a high level and just being confident with it. So, you know, we talk about college sports, like we saw that with Paige Beckers as well, who plays for UConn, and she tore her ACL last year and now is coming back and absolutely killing it. So they're the things that drive me in sports, and I know it sounds very cliche, but I would sort of attribute it to that. So
So you saying like just coming back from like a low to a high is like what inspired you to get into sports, and like just that kind of that camaraderie. It's hard to explain, man.
Definitely.
It's hard to explain.
Definitely, and it'll make more sense when I talk about the Chargers stuff as well. Yeah.
Go for it, man. Chat about that.
I was with another team before the Chargers, so I'll cover that as well. But yeah, so I was, you know, trying to venture out and seek more opportunities in sport, and you know, at that point in time, you know, I'm not a NEPO kid. Like, I don't have all these connections and whatever. So, but I never let that sort of, dictate that like my future. I wanted to make something out of it, right? So I started to talk to people and friends of mine, close people within my circle, and see whether they knew anyone that had opportunities available. And so one of my friends that I used to work with, his name's Adam, he was playing for a soccer team called Avondale at the time. So this was last year, 2023. And he said, we just had a conversation as we do, and he asked me what my goal was. And so I said, look, I would love to be involved in team sports in some capacity just to get experience. And he goes, I'm playing for, Avondale at the moment, and that they actually play today too. So he said, would you like me to contact the high performance manager and link you up with that? And so that I said, yeah, for sure, I'll definitely be open to that. The team's quite close to where I live, and given that it's a volunteer, going into it, it's going to be a volunteer position, you sort of want to factor that in as well. So in terms of proximity, it was close. The commitments weren't too much. So I met up with their high performance manager. His name's John Cobiella. I still remember this because he was one of the nicest dudes I've ever met in my life. He introduced me to everything and got me involved within the team, and very fortunate enough that they won everything last year, and just to be involved in such a high performing environment, I knew that it was something that I wanted to be in, right? Because when you're obviously thinking about it as a student or whatever, and you're not in the game, you sort of be like, I want to do sports, but then it's like, but what makes you, like, what drives you to do sports and be involved in that? Like that question you asked me. So then when you're in it and you're seeing people improve their performance, you're seeing them come from a low point with injuries and back to playing again. You're seeing that camaraderie, you're seeing that chemistry, you're seeing people achieve goals that they, always wanted to achieve or thought they never could achieve, right? There's all these factors, and to see that was an incredible experience, and just being in the four walls of a high performing team. So got that experience, and then, at the end of the season, my heart knew that I wanted to be in football, so like AFL, Aussie Rules football. So that was soccer, and so I knew that my heart just knew that I wanted to shift into that area. So the off season came, and preseason, I guess, well, actually more off season, I was trying to look for opportunities to get involved in the field in Aussie Rules, and interestingly, last year there weren't many opportunities posted, right? I think a lot of it seemed to be quite internally hirees or whatever. So I was getting a little bit discouraged. I was getting turned down by a lot of teams, and that's not their fault. It's just the nature of the business, and they found more experienced people, which is fair enough. I don't have an issue with that. But it made me more resilient in that way. And so I remember one night I just sat at my computer, and I was talking to one of my friends, Omar, about it. And after we, because Omar worked with me at Avondale, after we stopped the call, I just went on to the Talent League website through the AFL, and I just looked up all the emails. And part of me knew that I wanted to be involved with a high-performing team, and so I always knew that Oakleigh Chargers was the team that I wanted to work with, but I had to shoot my shot with every other team. So I did that, and it was like a week into it, and I didn't, hear back from many of the teams, and I'm like, oh, well, it's probably just the way it is, But exactly a week later, the Chargers got back to me and said, oh, we have a position. Would you like to, join us in a call, and we'll talk about it, and just suss the vibe with me first, right? And so jumped on the call there with Alex, who's the talent manager, and then Ty, who's the coach, and Jody, who's the high performance manager. Had a conversation with them, and then that same day, a couple hours later, they say to me, oh, we would love to have you a part of this team. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Like I was thrilled, because that was the team I wanted to work for. I know it's a bit of a trek for me, to be honest, but the sacrifice doesn't really faze me, because I'm traveling and I'm getting to work with an incredible team, a reputable team, and a team that's got incredibly high standards, And so for me, it's like a no-brainer, basically. So I started work with them in mid-December, I would say, or start of December. And so now have finished preseason, and our first game is tomorrow in Tasmania. So really looking forward to that as well. But it's been a bit of a journey, man, just to land this position, and I say to myself, I'm beyond blessed to be in this position right now. Being around such incredible athletes and young girls that they're just incredibly motivated to work every day and just be better and prepare for the draft and all that kind of, all that kind of stuff. It motivates me to be better every day, So I know I'm rambling on a bit here, but that's sort of the story there.
No, because I wanted to go just chat about, because you've never been in a football environment before. Like you grew up watching it, you watch it on TV, watch it on the phone, but when you're actually in the environment, and also maybe an unfamiliar environment as well, like what's that like? Transitioning into the Australian football culture. It's a transition, man. I say this from experience, because I'm a Vietnamese background, and I've played at Collegians Football Club for about 5 years, and I struggled with the transition, man, to integrate into full Australian culture. just the way people talk. I had to be more confident within myself. I had to go up and like mingle, like as funny as it sounds, like mingle with like full Australian guys, and I'm not used to it, man. So that's from my experience. Did you struggle with that transition?
Oh, for sure, man. I actually love talking about this topic because it's something that I find quite interesting, but also can be a bit funny as well in terms of like my experience. But yeah, you're right. Basically, we both come from Vietnamese heritage, and so the culture and the way that people talk to each other is quite different. And being last season working in Avondale, because soccer is very ethnic dominated, if that makes sense. Like
yes, I understand.
So there's a lot of Italians, Greeks, Balkan people basically, right? Or even Southern European. So the culture there is very like family orientated, it feels very like, I remember I first started there, people were coming over to me saying, hey man, like you're part of the family, giving me like a man hug and just like pats on the back, stuff like that, and being from our culture, that's normal for us as well, right? That's quite normal. So when I first transitioned over to Aussie rules football, it was I wouldn't say it is even like a struggle for me, because it was just an interesting way that people were communicating with each other. And so for me, I spent a lot of time really just sitting back and observing the way that they talk to each other, just the mannerisms, the lingo, the little tiny details when it comes to like their culture. And I spent time sitting back and watching because I wanted to learn this, and I wanted to, sort of implement things that worked well with me and things that I liked about it within that four walls of the club. But the thing I say to people is that I say respect the culture, because this is why I did it, because I say respect the culture, which is, for them, it's very, because Aussies are very like to the point, right? Like
give us an example.
So
I know it's hard.
Yeah.
So I know it's hard, but
so for example, if you're like every training session, we'll give like feedback to the coach and whatever, and like you're telling them what happened. Like just get straight to the point. Just say, hey, this is what happened. This is where we're progressing. Things are looking good. The player will be ready in like 1 to 2 weeks. Done. As succinct as possible and as straightforward as possible. After that, okay, see you, mate. Done. Whereas like in sort of the Italian, or I guess the ethnic teams from soccer, you'll chat about other stuff before getting to that. Like it's like, oh yeah, we just talk about all this other stuff, and then we'll talk about the work stuff, or vice versa, talk about it at the end. But it's very different, because it feels a bit like very black and white. Okay, this is what happened, here we go, done, see you later. So that's the difference that I would say and attribute towards that. And also the other thing is like, and I hope there's no like Anglo people like don't take offense to this, because this is just my observation, but the other thing is like, you're not sure if they like you or they don't like you. Like it's such a weird, it's so hard to describe, because one day they'll see you, hey mate, all happy and stuff like that, and then the next day it's like, okay, cool, just do your job, right? And you're never sure, because one of the coaches at Avondale, which was a soccer team, we call him Chella, and every time he saw me, oh David, how are you, like getting around me, and just and that was consistent every single time. And so you knew that like you knew whether they liked you or not, right? If they get around you, they like you. If less the case, then probably not. But here was a bit interesting. It wasn't very consistent, and so I figured that if they give you time, and if they approach you and ask you questions and value your expertise and value your opinion, I think they kind of vibrate with you and they like you. And so I started to pick up that pattern, And I noticed that this is just the way they are. It's not a bad thing at all. Like, this is just a different culture, right?
It's just a different culture.
Different culture. And so the reason why I say respect the culture is because when you're going into a new environment, you're not trying to change stuff. You're obviously trying to assimilate to what's there, but you're also bringing elements of yourself into it, you know? So for me, an example would be that I always get around the coaches, give them a pat on the back and stuff like that, get to know them on a deep level like that, because that was what I grew up with, you know, and that was what was normal for me. And so I bring those elements of myself towards the team, but I respect the culture. And so when I'm working with an athlete, I'll communicate in a certain way that they're familiar with and they're used to, so they understand the instructions. And also with the coaching staff, you know, when we're talking football and work, I'm giving instructions in a succinct and clear way so that they know what's going on, and then, you know, we move on from there. So I know it's sort of like hard to describe, but that would be what I would attribute it towards. And and I wouldn't say it was a struggle. And sorry to cut you off there. I wouldn't say, for me personally, it wasn't a struggle. It was just a new and different way to communicate, but it gave me like a chance to observe that, okay, this is just a different way that they do things, but it's not a bad thing. No. And so now, like I said, you know, trying not to repeat myself here, but, you know, I say to students that are from my heritage is, yeah, go in there, respect what's there, but don't change yourself like completely because of that. Yeah, like you just bring your own little elements where you can, but you respect the culture that they've built there and how they interact there. That's how I would put it. Yeah.
Dude, man, it's so hard to describe, and and I'm glad that you brought an example, because like me and you, like we grew up like Vietnamese, and like I don't know if it's within your family, but within my family, it's you, like your older, your parents, your aunties, your uncles, your grandparents, they're seen as like higher than you, and so naturally you wouldn't really conversate with these guys, or you wouldn't even chat about anything about your personal life with them, to be honest. So like I remember just going into Chargers Football Club, and I was very new to the sport, and just being transitioned into like full Aussie culture. The coaches were talking to each other, the coaches were talking to the players, no matter how old you were. There could be like an 18-year-old talking to like a 30-year-old, and everything was just really equal. And they'd chat about everything with each other. Yeah. Everything, like work, their personal life, just anything. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's a big difference with Australian culture, just from what I noticed.
Oh, huge.
Again, not a bad thing. Like it's just a different culture, and then that helped me like grow the confidence to like talk and, you know, get out of my shell.
For sure. I can relate. 100%.
Yeah, it sounds like that's something that you've overcome, like just from learning over the past few months.
Yeah, and still learning, you know. There's so many, like the culture, you know, Aussie culture and ethnic culture, it runs so deep that I can never say I've fully grasped it yet, but yeah, still learning and still evolving, but yeah, also being true to my identity and what I can bring to the table as well, where I can, obviously. Like you're not, like I said, you're not trying to go there and changing everything because of how you grew up or where you were from. You go there and you assimilate, and then you try to still be yourself, but learn a few things from that. So I can relate 100%, man, with what you said there, because like I'll be talking to the equipment manager who's like, he's like old, and we're just and we're just having a conversation about NFL, or we're having a conversation about life, or just, you know, his weekend or whatever, and it's like so equal. And the thing is, like, I'm not used to that, because in ethnic culture and society, there's a hierarchy, you know, in terms of like respect your elders, and there's like certain things that you just don't talk about, right?
Nah, you don't.
And so, but I realized that this way is great also, because it's still respectful, just in a different way. So yeah, I love it, man. It's been great. thus far. So, yeah.
So you're the rehab coach over for the Oakleigh Chargers right now,
Yeah.
and you're full Vietnamese heritage.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you're have representation for like the Vietnamese culture, you know, in AFL sports? Because it's very rare, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very rare to see Asians or any ethnic diversity in Aussie rules football.
Yeah, for sure. I do feel, I guess if we talk about the Greeks and Italians, they've been in the game for a while. So, you know, but again, like they would have had to start somewhere and pave the way for each other. So I feel like, you know, in my position right now, like understanding that I'm not like at the top of the game sort of thing. So I can't speak of like I can't speak about it in a way where it's like, you know, or nor would I ever, but you should do this and that. But I feel like, yeah, being full Vietnamese and in this sort of environment, I sort of trying to, represent, man, and show that, you know, no matter your background or where you come from, you can make this work. And so, yeah, I feel like in this sort of level and environment, I'm doing it for the players and the team and the job itself. But part of me also is thinking, okay, yeah, I'm representing my culture, and that's why I want to get as high as I can to show that, you know, we can do it as well. And hopefully that paves the way for the next generation to see that, oh, you know, this guy's doing it at the highest level. I'm going to try and do it as well, you know, because I saw this guy on LinkedIn. I don't know him personally, but his name's Long Lam, and he works for the Golden State Warriors. Or I'm not sure if he's still there, but I saw his LinkedIn profile, and you know, he was doing like some kind of medical and high performance role there. And so when I saw that years ago, it gave me a spark to say that, oh, if he's doing it there in the NBA at the highest level, like, why can't I do it here, you know? So that's sort of the thinking that goes through my mind when I'm doing it, yeah, for sure.
Dude, I don't think people realize enough how important, like, seeing someone of your culture, like at the highest level, do something.
Absolutely, man.
Because like just growing up, like you don't see Asian athletes like at all, barely. You know, whether it's like, you know, I mean, tennis, football, soccer. You know, you might have like Lena in tennis. You might have I don't know who's Lin Jong in Aussie rules.
But you know, on Lin Jong, right? Lin Jong is very powerful for us.
He is.
Because number one, he's Asian. He's full blood Asian, and he's making a career out of Aussie rules football in a place where it's dominated by Caucasian players. And so he's very powerful for me personally, because I know that we got like Mitch Owens and guys that play and are Asian descent, whatever, and that's great. They represent us too, but someone like Lin Jong, man, like full-blooded Asian doing it's just a bit different in that way, man. Because I know, and I commend like the half-blood Asians for representing and truthfully, like they're helping advance the game and they're helping Asian representation in the game 100%. But to see a guy like Lin Jong full blood do it, it just hits different, and that's why I have a lot of sort of admiration for him. Although I never met him personally, but I always have that thought behind my mind where, you know, kids are playing, like Asian kids are playing because he played. Yeah. And they see that he can make it, and they try to make it too, man. So yeah, I say doing it for the culture. That's sort of my little mantra. It's so not original, important. But I really sort of live by that for sure.
Yeah, man. It's just so important because it's like if you can't see it, you don't really feel like you can do it.
Yeah. For sure.
So, and by the way, Lin Jong he's playing at a local league football, like in the NFNL, like the Northern Football League. So I forgot what I actually saw him one time. He's actually freaking big, man.
He's big, yeah.
He's actually.
He's like 6'2" or something.
Yeah, 6'2", and he's like this big guy. He's like he can still play, man.
Yeah,
but
sure.
you should actually go watch him, man.
I
Play
should,
one
well,
day.
yeah.
He plays in. I forgot. It was like a Collingwood team, not actually Collingwood, but some Collingwood version in the Northern Football League.
The pinstripes.
Yeah, the black and white. I can't remember what team, but yeah, dude, he's huge, man.
Yeah, he's like I said, never met him personally, but he looks like an awesome guy and definitely paving the way for Asians here. So yeah, like even though we're not, like I'm not on the field playing, but you know, I want to represent in other ways possible. High performance, for example. So yeah.
Why is it so important for you, man?
Well, I feel like for me, it's more, I want to sort of pave the way for the youths to focus on a career that they're passionate about and a career where they feel like they can add to the world in a positive way. But I don't want people to feel like they're restricted or limited because of their race or because of their ethnicity, you know. And that's why it's important to see people do it at the highest level of your race, because it gives you that belief and it gives you that confidence to be able to achieve big things, you know. So for me, that's probably the main reason. And also creating a sort of positive image, let's just say Vietnamese people, where we're involved in everything, like doctors, dentists, nurses, you know, physios, whatnot. Why can't we be involved in AFL, like football, at the highest level too? So just creating that, you know, diversity within our people and what we can do. But the important thing for me is the culture where we're trying to get kids to, strive for their goals, but not be limited by, you know, oh, this is for lack of a better way of saying it, like, oh, this is a white man or society or whatever, and I can't make it because of that. But because I promise that, like, people here, they don't care about that. They care about the talent, and they care about people that impact and can make a big impact, I guess, on their team and their medical staff, whatever the case may be. You know, it's more about the people that work hard and can bring something significant to the table versus what you look like. That's just my belief. Of course, you do have your nepotism and things like that exists, but I feel like in order to stay in the game long, you got to be good at what you do. And so, but having that belief to start off with is a good way to start your journey, because you can stay disciplined and motivated, and know that there is going to be your time to shine one day if you keep working at it. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not just even sports.
Everything,
you know, like
man.
just anything, if whatever field you want to get into. I mean, like whether it's like business, arts,
anything.
Literally anything, just to build more representation and get out of that bubble, you know, that typical,
for sure,
lawyer, doctor, dentist.
And you know what, man, like, to your point, I've seen, you know, Vietnamese Americans succeed in the military.
Oh, you're about to head off? Awesome, thank you, appreciate it. They're about to close, but that's okay, we'll get off soon.
I've seen Vietnamese Americans succeed in the military and like successful chefs opening up their own business, things like that. So there's a lot of stories like that where it sort of motivates me, and I'm sure it motivates a lot of other Asian kids as well, that they can do it. But so that's sort of the driver behind that. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Where are you headed, man?
Where am I headed?
Where are you headed, bro? Yeah, so you're doing heaps of things, sound super busy. Where are you headed right now?
Oh man, to be honest, in terms of professional life, being in the talent league, man, like I said, I'm super blessed to be in this situation, and like every time I'm working here, it's like a moment to moment thing where my whole focus and attention is to the team, to the girls and the athletes that I work with. And so I have that undivided attention when it comes to my work there. But if we're talking about where I want to be in the next couple years, of
Yeah.
course, I want to take it to the highest level where possible, man. You know, AFL would be incredible. AFLW even would be incredible. I've learned so much over the years that and even here at Oakleigh the last couple of months, I've appreciated the heck out of women's sports and just the dedication and the drive and all that they bring to the table. And so I can't put a sort of a target, or I just want to get as high as I can in this game, whether it be AFL, AFLW, or college sports, whatever the case may be. That's sort of the level I want to take it to, but it's going to take a lot of hard work to get there. But I'm sort of ready to continue to work and grind. But for now, my focus and attention is at Oakleigh and doing the best job I can at this team, and hopefully the team can hoist the cup again this year and go back to back.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got like big goals. You know, I know you'll keep grinding. You're a big grinder. So to finish off, like what inspires you? Like what's your hype, man? What keeps you hyped up?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. I'm trying to think here. I feel like the first thing is just like I said before, doing it for the culture. That inspires me, and it gives me motivation and discipline every day to keep working and try to get to my goals. Being at the team really hypes me up as well. Just being around that environment, the coaching staff, everyone. Every time I leave there, I have more appreciation for, you know, what I do and the players there and things like that. And also, like, just can't really narrow down into anything specific here, man. Gosh, obviously doing it for my mom as well. You know, trying to, you know, make enough financially so that we can move away from the area that we live in right now. So they're all I guess, like, on top of my head right now. I would have to think about it a bit more, but they're the things that sort of motivate me and drive me to keep doing it, man. So yeah.
That's great, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
Look, David, it was great chatting with you, man. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best place they can contact you, man? If you want to chat about physiotherapy, sports, or just anything like that.
Oh, for sure, man.
Where can they contact you?
For sure.
If you've got anything.
Yeah, for sure. Can always contact me on Instagram.
Yeah.
So that's just my name, David Huynh. You can follow it through your account as well, because you have me.
Yeah.
Where else? LinkedIn is a great place as well, because I always have my professional contacts on there. So it's just my name again, David Huynh, just full name.
So David _Huynh on Instagram?
So on Instagram it's David, so it's David Twee, so THUY _
Yep, David Twee _. Cool.
Yep, so Instagram, and then LinkedIn, just my full name. And then if you're a student or if you want to reach out on email, I have my work email as well. So that's just d.huynh2@latrobe.edu.au. And yeah, always try to make the time for people, man, because there were many that made time for me. And so if I could give back where possible, I will. But yeah, because I know that, yeah, people would have, you know, head spinning every time I reach out to them and ask them questions about stuff. And I truly feel bad sometimes, but, you know, you got to do it. And so yeah, if whoever is interested and wants to reach out, by all means, they're my contact details. But yeah, I love to try and give back to people, man. Hence why I enjoy the teaching work as well, because we get a lot of dedicated and humble students coming through, and and you know, asking questions, but also doing the work in the background, you know, like yourself.
100%, man.
So yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it coming on. It was a good chat, man, and
Yeah, it's
I
all
think
good.
we covered heaps, right? It's we could, me and David, wait, we could chat for hours, man.
Yeah.
Hours and hours.
Oh man, like
but
we've chewed the fat on many different topics, but
yeah,
hopefully I'm trying not to chew the ears off of everyone here. It's just more trying to keep it as succinct as possible, but hopefully there's a few things that people can take out of this.
absolutely, man, and they will, and like this is only a slice of like what we talk about. You know, we talk about everything.
I don't think it's even like it's not even 10%.
No, not even 10%.
Yeah.
It's only like 5, man. 5%, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I appreciate. I just want to say also, like, appreciate everyone that's like helped me along the journey as well. I know I'm not that deep in the game yet, but you know, up until this point, all those that have helped me out, have taken the time, you know, really appreciate them for that too. I'm not going to list everyone on top of my head because I'm sure I'll miss people, but they know who they are. So.
I mean, do you feel free to, man, if you want to?
Yeah, no, I can't do that because I know I'm going to miss someone.
Oh, yeah.
And if I do that, I feel bad. So, if I had like a list or whatever, I'd have to sit down and do it. But I just, because I don't want to miss anyone. So, but they know who they are, and I appreciate them for making the time. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it, man. Good shit.
No, appreciate you, man. Thank you for making the time.
It was fun, man. No, it was actually really fun just chatting with Dave. I always wanted to do that for a long time, man.
Yeah.
Dude, that's sweet. That's on.